Stephanie Newton, and I am here promoting my CD Fairytale Life. I write music mostly for women and women's ministry, and they call me the Desperate Christian Housewife. My everyday life is very, very busy and not glamorous at all. I have 3 young daughters, and they're very involved in their activities in their school. And then I'm a worship leader at a church, and so I'm very involved in putting together services every Sunday. And of course I have a husband and a home to take care of, and so my life is very busy. This is my new record, Fairytale Life, and it's been out a year or so now, and it took me about a year of writing the music and doing all the production with my producer to get it out. Well, I write a lot of my songs just out of my own experience as a mom and a wife and a woman trying to make it in today's world. And so that's the topic of a lot of my songs. They're just my daily struggles and how God is always there for me and fits into that picture. And I also write worship songs because I am a worship leader, and worship is very important to me. And so there are some worship songs on the album as well. I get very little, I don't have the luxury of a lot of uninterrupted time when I can just sit at the piano and write. I write a lot in 10 or 20 minute pieces of time, just in between caring for my girls. And I'm constantly jotting down ideas that I get for songs, and so I'm constantly writing down ideas. But as far as getting to have long songwriting sessions, I don't get to do that as much at home. Now, I do schedule time with my producer when I have extended songwriting periods, and really that helps me more because I need to schedule it in order for it to be done. Otherwise, it just gets overlooked in the busyness of my day. You know, trying to raise my girls to find faith in God, to get on their own journey with Christ, is first and foremost with me. And I just think being a good mom is the hardest job in the world. And so I wanted to write these songs to give other women, just let them know that, you know, other women are going through the same things they are, and that we need to support each other. And so that's kind of the main message of my songs, is just women supporting other women. Well, I think the main message comes from my song, Moments of Grace. That's probably my favorite song on the record. And it talks about how when you're having those hard days, when it's hard to just put one foot in front of the other, I experience God's grace just sometimes in the moments. If I can just take a breath and just to be still, knowing that God is with me in those moments, and that He cares about all the little things going on in my life. And I think that's just amazing that a big and awesome God is there with me in my little life, you know, and cares about every moment. And so that's the message I think that I would want to get across to other moms. I think it's totally possible. That's what God is calling you to do. He'll make a way for it to happen. And one way He's made that way for me for it to happen for me is to have a very supportive husband who is helpful and supportive and just takes his job seriously as far as taking responsibility for the children. So that's been an important piece of the puzzle to me. Yeah, the single that's out right now is called Turn It Around, and that's actually one of the worship songs. And I had this idea that, you know, I lead worship week after week after week. And sometimes the presence of God in the worship service is so real, and it's just almost a physical presence. And you know, when we can all experience that in worship, it's a wonderful thing. But sometimes I feel in my own life, I leave that at the church, and I don't take it with me in my day-to-day life, and realize that God's presence is there, you know, always with me, not just in the Sunday morning worship service. And so I wanted to write a song that talked about turning around and taking that presence that we feel out into the world, so that we can truly be the salt and light of the world that Jesus has called us to be.
How does being mom impact what you do?
Oh, it impacts everything. I really don't see myself compartmentalized as, you know, a mom and a working woman. I see it all together in one big package, and I think that that's how other moms view themselves too. I think that our culture sort of sets us up sometimes as working women against stay-at-home moms, and it's really not that way. We're all out there kind of doing it all, and we need to just support each other.
I agree with that too.
And lots of times when I'm, actually a lot of my worship and prayer time is in the car when I'm shuttling kids back and forth, or when I have a moment in between taking the kids back and forth to places. And it just seems like these days especially, because my kids are at ages where they seem to need me more and more and more, and in different ways in their ages. They're 7, 4, and 20 months. And it seems to me that I need that strength from Christ to just get through every day and just give them what they need. And so I'm almost in constant prayer these days, just trying to be the mother that I think God has called me to be. Right. That's so important, and it's the ultimate challenge as a worship leader, because we want what we do to be excellent and pursue excellence in God's name, but we don't want it to be about us. We want to, point what we're doing, point it to God. And I think a lot about the scripture from Zephaniah in the 3rd chapter that says that our God is mighty to save. And then at the end of the verse it says, He rejoices over us with singing. And I love to think about our great and awesome God who rejoices over us with singing. And I like to think of worship as our singing God's song back to Him. You can contact me at stephanienewton.com, and I would love to hear from you. I just want to share with you from my own life that my CD's called Fairytale Life, but there's really some satire attached to that, because my life is not all a fairy tale, and neither is anyone else's. I struggle with a lot of challenges. I struggle particularly with depression, and have struggled with periods of depression on and off since in my 20s. And I can relate to what the Apostle Paul says when he talks about how he has a thorn in the flesh, and he prays 3 times for it to be taken away, but for some reason it's not taken away. And I sort of feel like that with my struggle with depression, that I pray for it to be taken away, but it seems like I still struggle with these periods of darkness. And but in that same passage, Paul says, my grace is, or God says to him, my grace is sufficient for you. And so that's what I lean on, that God's grace is sufficient to get me through these times. And I don't think that God causes me to have depression to lean on Him, but I think He is able to use that to His glory, to have me realize that I can always depend on Him. He is what gets me through. Hi, this is Stephanie Newton, and you're listening to Breathecast.